Hello everyone, my name is Thuy and this is for HAF 671. My presentation is Software Installation Microsoft SQL Server for Mac users. I'll be walking you through how to install and set up Microsoft SQL Server on Mac. Since Microsoft SQL Server isn't natively supported on Mac OS, we'll be using Docker to get it running. Let's get started. What is Microsoft SQL Server? It is essentially a powerful database management system widely used for storing and managing data, especially healthcare databases. However, it is primarily designed for Windows, so Mac users need a workaround to install it. So how can Mac users install and use Microsoft SQL Server? This is where Docker comes in. Before we begin, we will need to ensure a few prerequisites are met. Here are some pre-installation requirements. These include making sure that your Mac is updated. Then, we'll make sure that you will install the Docker desktop, and also you will need to install Azure Data Studio. In the following slides, I will be going through Azure Data Studio installation and Docker desktop installation. So first, you will go to your browser and search Azure Data Studio Mac. Please refer to the image on the screen. Afterwards, you will click on the first search result, which is Download Install Azure Data Studio. You'll be then prompted to the following page as you see on the screen. You will select the download that's most appropriate for your device. For me, I'll select Mac OS Apple Silicon. Once you have that selected, it'll start downloading. Once downloaded, you open Finder to your downloads. In Download, you should be able to find Azure Data Studio. Here, you will take Azure Data Studio and move it to your applications. Once it's in your application folder, you'll double-click on Azure Data Studio, where then you'll be prompted to download Azure Data Studio and open the application on your device. Now that we have Azure Data Studio downloaded, we will work on installing Docker. Docker allows us to run SQL Server in an isolated environment, so we will go to docker.com in your browser and download this environment. Please select Download and select Download for Mac Apple Silicon, or select the download that's most applicable to your device. Once downloaded, you'll double-click on the item and you'll see the Docker app. Please move that Docker app, scroll it over and drag and drop it into your applications. Here, it'll start downloading Docker into your applications. After downloading the app and moving into your applications, you will see it in your applications folder. Double-click on the Docker app, and here you will then be prompted to finish setting up the Docker desktop. This is what the Docker desktop will look like once you have completed installation. Now we will open our terminal and enter Docker enter. The purpose of doing this is to make sure that Docker is in path. If you see all the information populate, this will show that Docker is in path, and you can proceed. Once Docker has been configured, we'll come back to Terminal to download, install, and configure Microsoft SQL Server in the Docker. This should have it running under Containers. You can select a username and password that feels most appropriate to you. As you can see in the first command, I use reference in the first bullet with the username TN and password ABC123. Afterwards, I was requested to enter my laptop's password. With this command, I had an error. However, this may work for your device. Alternatively, I use the second command in the second bullet. Please reference that. And with this, I entered the username SA and password your password 123. Once entered, it may take a few minutes for the command to run and execute on your device, but once completed, we will have the server connected. Once it was executed, I opened up my Docker desktop and saw that my SQL server was connected, as you can see from the attached image. Once Docker is completed and connected, we'll go back to Azure Data Studio to ensure that the SQL server is connected using Azure Data Studio. We do this by, and as you can already see, that I am already connected to the server. But to do this, you'll select on connections on the very left side. You'll see server. Here you select new connection. I already am connected to localhost, but you will enter the following information for your new connection. Enter server, localhost, authentication, SQL, login. Username and password should be whatever you had entered previously. Mine was SA and my password was your password 123. Then you'll select connect. If you see the server turn green, that means you have been connected. Congratulations, you have now completed the installation and setup of Microsoft SQL Server on a MacBook. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching my presentation.